For the first time in a long time, the Celtics can't shake their frustrations of a bad shooting night and some bad officiating. I'll talk about it all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. I got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus weekends like Saturday night when the Celtics play the Bulls again. Revenge. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. I'm sure there will be plenty of comments after this game. A loss to the Bulls, which featured just this crazy set of technical fouls. Whew. Yeah, all of that's coming up. I'm John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I've been covering the Celtics for about 20 years, doing it right now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. Also the author of Built Different, celebrating Banner 18. If you're local, if you're in New England, if you're around New England, maybe even New York, New Jersey area, Pennsylvania, there's time. You can still order this. I can get books out Friday and Saturday, maybe in time for Christmas, maybe. So johnkaralis.com, $30, signed, personalized, delivered to your door. Lots of people have been ordering this. Everybody who's ordered one, thank you so much. Plenty of these going out as gifts. Really appreciate that. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers place a $5 bet. You get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just go to FanDuel.com to get started. All right, let's get to this game. Celtics lose by 9. Later on, we'll get to individual players, including Jaylen Brown, who, afterwards, and this is an easy thing for me to say after the fact, probably should have taken the night off. I don't think he was fully ready to play after going through a real rough week when somebody tried to break into his mother's house. I'll touch on all of that stuff later in that third segment. Second segment will be the officiating stuff. There's timestamps in the YouTube page. If you want to skip ahead to that, you can. I want to start with the basketball stuff, though, before we get to the refs and all of that, because the basketball stuff is the most important thing. And I thought this was, when you say a tale of two halves, this really was. First half, I thought, wasn't bad. I thought they were, good in the first half, mostly good in the first half. It wasn't a great performance, no matter how you slice it. But in the first half, I thought they were victim to Zach LaVine, 20 points in the first half, who came in like he was hot. Zach LaVine played great, right? 7 of 11 in the first half, scored 20 points. The Bulls were 10 of 26 in the first half from 3. The Celtics were 6 of 24 in the first half. I thought the frustrations in the second half started to get the best of them. But in the first half, it was just actually good defense. The Celtics, I think, actually played mostly good defense in the first half. And just, Patrick Williams hits 3 of 7 from 3. Like, okay. You had Ayo Dosunmu hit a shot that hit a 3 that, he doesn't hit threes. Zach LaVine was hitting tough threes. So I think the Celtics went into the half feeling like, okay, the defense is there. Our shots aren't falling. We're still up 3. They were up 7 at one point in the second quarter. They were getting decent performance, a good performance from Jayson Tatum. They got a good first half from Kristaps Porzingis. Derrick White was not shooting well, missed his first 4, but then he hit his next 3 and was shooting okay, 50% overall. was doing his normal thing. The first half for Derrick White, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. That was all great. 8 points for Payton Pritchard off the bench. He delivered a little jolt of energy. I thought Drew Holiday was pretty good in the first half. Like, the Celtics were mostly positive in the first half. And then the second half came along and things didn't change. And that's when you started to see the outward displays of frustration. Especially, I saw one point Derrick White, Zach LaVine hit a shot, and after the ball went in, Derrick White just threw his hands up in the air, just like, oh, come on. Like that, you don't see those very outward shows of frustration from the Celtics. So to me, more than anything, this was an uncharacteristic loss of poise from the Celtics. Normally in a game like this, they would just keep battling. It's one of the things, and I think it's a compliment to the Celtics that I'm confused that they couldn't find a path to winning this game. And maybe they were on their way to a path in that fourth quarter with all the techs, and it was 96-93. Again, which I'll get to. They may have been on the way there, but again, even in that moment, their frustrations were showing, and that is uncharacteristic of this Celtics team. Maybe 2-3 years ago, we wouldn't be surprised. We've talked, I don't know how many times I've talked on this podcast over the years of, on a night where the Celtics don't hit their shots, they start to get frustrated. It impacts their defense. They stop playing defense. They stop playing at their best, the full effort. They start giving up offensive rebounds. They start giving up layups. We've seen this movie before. We just haven't seen it in a while. And I'd be happy if we don't see it again moving forward. But this was what used to be a familiar thing for the Celtics. It's something that they shook, especially last season and definitely this season. And it's just kind of weird to see it back. Not a big deal. Not a big deal that it comes back every once in a while. You're going to have a game like this. And again, I don't want to make excuses, but I think in this particular case, this has been a rough week. Jaylen Brown, like I said, and I'll talk about later, he clearly was not himself. He had a tough game overall. Even with the Celtics up 3 in the first half, he was just not there. He only scored 4 points, took 7 shots, a few assists, but he was one of the few negatives in that first half. He never really was there. I think he was on the edge of the frustrations were there. The I don't know, anger, the emotions of, I think, the week, he carried those into this game. Understandable. Again, not a criticism. Totally understandable. But that probably hurt Boston's chances of staying poised, staying focused. Just didn't have that in him. I think Kristaps Porzingis, with his own, personal tragedy of the, losing a former Latvian teammate to suicide, apparently, having that weighing on him, I'm sure that made for a rough week. And when real life gets in the way of things, does make the game of basketball seem trivial and probably hard to focus at times. You just don't have it in you where the weight of the world, it interferes with what ultimately is a game. It's a kid's game. You're like, whatever, who cares? Who cares if the Chicago Bulls beat the Boston Celtics? There are bigger things happening. But I understand guys playing. This is their sanctuary. This is where they want to be. But they didn't have it. They didn't have it in this game. And, other guys, I think, didn't have it. I think whatever happened leading into this game, this is as much a flush it, forget it, take what you can out of it, sure, but flush it and just understand, on Saturday or the next time this happens, You got to keep your poise, be better. And we've seen the Celtics be better. So this is not of no real concern to me overall, but it was weird to see. Credit the Chicago Bulls, man. They played great. They outshot the Celtics. Which is, you never see the Celtics outscored by 15 points at the 3-point line. The Boston Celtics outscored by 15 points at the 3-point line. Excuse me? They gave up 52 3-pointers. It's the second time this season they've given up 53 pointers to the Bulls. The Bulls show the Celtics like, hey, we can do what you do. And every once in a while, the hot shooting or better shooting than you can lead to frustrations mounting. So I think that's what it boils down to. All right. I know people are going to want to talk about the officials. They want to hear my opinion on the officials, I guess. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about those texts. It's all coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. You know, Prize Picks is the place to go for your daily fantasy fix. It's the best place to get real money sports action. And you can get up to 1,000 times your cash. 1,000? Yeah, why not? All you got to do is pick more or less than on up to you get 4 or 5 picks. You pick more or less. If you hit them all, you can win big on Prize Picks. It's not you against other people. They got 10 million members. It's just you against the projections. They've paid out billions of dollars in award winnings, and you can just go ahead and have fun yourself. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They're giving away 2 free picks in December. They're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pixmas. So you can make your holidays bigger and brighter. The best place to get real money action. And now Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this season. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's very simple. Download the app. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Today's show also brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control in the bedroom, Rocket RX has the solution. Imagine feeling more prepared, performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at a lower cost than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in discreet, plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you'll get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team. Complete a quick 100% online consultation, and you could get your free prescription today. Visit rocketrx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. Right now, our listeners, you can get 40% off your first order when you use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's rocketrx.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first order. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX, better sex made simple. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. If you're on the audio feed, you'll see Postcast already on this feed. That's Steve Lennox. He does a show immediately after the game where it's on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube page. He goes live there. You can join him live there. Then after that, the audio gets dropped onto this audio feed. So if you're an audio-only listener, that's what you'll see. Then you'll see me with the regular Locked On Celtics podcast after I've talked to the players, talked to Joe Mazzulla, and then give you a little bit more in-depth thinking there. So 2 podcasts on the audio feed, 2 separate YouTube feeds. That's our Locked On Celtics. Just giving you extra stuff so you can scratch that itch, that Celtics itch right after the game. All right, the officiating stuff. Everybody wants to know about the officiating stuff. Okay, fine. So it's 96-93. This is the turning point. This is a potential turning point of the game. Celtics get a steal, 3-pointer from Jaylen Brown. Derrick White had just hit 3 free throws. The Celtics are cutting into this lead. They're making their run. A couple of misses. Ball hits the ground. I think it's Ayo Dosunmu on the floor. Jaylen Brown reaches down and gets a hand on the ball. Shortly after that, almost immediately after that, Payton Pritchard reaches in, and the ball is tied up. The referee makes a call, jump ball, and he says it's Dosunmu and Payton Pritchard. Now, obviously, Jaylen Brown feels like I got my hand in there first. I should jump. And that would be more advantageous to the Boston Celtics than having Payton Pritchard in the jump ball. So that starts this whole cascade. So number one, Jaylen did get his hand on the ball. Now, the ref might say, yes, but you didn't tie it up. Payton Pritchard did. Okay. I think, my opinion, Jaylen got his hand in there. The ball got tied up. Jaylen was first in. He should have jumped ball. So that, I think, is the wrong call. Joe Mazzulla jumps out onto the floor to argue the call and gets the tech. Does Joe Mazzulla need to jump out onto the floor? No. That's kind of automatic. And is it weak? We can argue that it's weak, but the call is made. And that's not one that you can really argue much. And I do think that I'll tell you my conclusion first and explain it all. I think both sides are wrong here, right? I think the referees made mistakes, and I think the Celtics should not have put themselves in a position to be teed up, right? That Joe Mazzulla jumping onto the floor, should that be a technical? You could probably let it slide, but he was so far onto the floor, they called it. Don't want to put yourself in that position. Fine. Okay. Then afterwards, after the tech is shot, Jaylen Brown continues talking to the ref. And he said after the game, quote, I said to him, you called the tech for no reason. He said, if you say it to me again, I'm going to call another tech. And then he called another tech. Blah, 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 blah. He says, I'm allowed to talk. So on. He said, when I tell you, you call the tech for no reason, and you say, if I say it again, I'm calling another tech, and then I say it again, you call a tech, you just threatened your whistle as a threat. It's not part of the game, and it's BS. So is it a weak technical foul? Yep. Is the referee all up in his feelings? Yep. But also, the referee told you he was all up in his feelings. He said, if you say it again, I'm calling another tech. So right away, I'm going to say, poor officiating here. You shouldn't put that threat out there. That's wrong. He should not have put that threat out there. But he did. Okay? So in that situation, Jaylen's going to be like, you can't sit there and say the same thing again. He has laid himself bare. He has put the threat out there. If you do this, I will do this. Is it the right threat? No, absolutely not. It was terrible. But he put it out there. You're challenging him. You're daring him. Okay, fine. I will say it again. And so the ref's like, well, I can't not call the tech now. I said I would. So, boom, you get a technical foul. Is it BS? Yeah, the whole thing's BS. But also, Jaylen, it's the fourth quarter. You're down 3. Now you're down 4. Now your tech makes it down 5. You easily could have said something else in that moment. You easily could have said to him, there's no need to threaten me with another tech. I'm just saying this to you. And you don't have to threaten. I'm not showing you up. We're talking here. You can tell him, I'm a captain, or I'm supposed to be able to talk to you. There's no need to threaten me with a tech if I'm just saying this. So, you can make your point without daring the ref to blow the whistle again. That is Jaylen's fault. I hate to say it, but that is Jaylen's fault. And Jayson Tatum, a weak tech. Absolutely. Tony Brothers makes the call. Jayson makes his, case, whatever, walks away, waves him off. Technical foul. Weak. Totally weak. Stupid tech. I hate the wave off tech. Especially since we've seen players. I think Karl Anthony Towns in that tournament game had a big wave off of a ref. Didn't call it. We've seen players wave refs off and they don't call it. But every single time Jayson Tatum does it, they call a tech. So, yeah, it's a weak tech. It's bad officiating. But also, Jayson knows every time they do that, they call it tech. Why do you keep doing it? I don't care that it's stupid. I don't care that it's lame. They always do it. Stop waving them off. To me, it's like, what point are you making? If you're going to get a tech, get the tech, earn the tech, earn it. It bugs the hell out of me because now we've got officials. You get 3 technical fouls, 2 that definitely did not need to be called. One that you're like, oh, big sigh, I guess, because technically that's the rule. But also the players were in a position that they could have avoided it and said, these refs are in their feelings. They're being completely unreasonable. I'm not going to push this. I'm going to make my point a different way. But they didn't. Jaylen challenged the ref, dared him basically to call it, and he did. Tatum keeps doing that stupid wave off. It just drives me nuts. That drives me nuts that it's a tech, and it drives me nuts that he keeps doing it. And so, who's at fault? Both sides are at fault. And you know what? Porzingis said it after the game. So we've got to keep our cool in that situation. Tempers flared, and we got to keep our cool. It was 93 to 96-93. Okay, they screwed up the call. Joe gets the tech. All right, it's still 97-93. Just if you lose the jump ball, just defend. You've been defending. You got momentum. The crowd is behind you. Just use it. No. Now it's 98-93. You lose the jump ball. You don't defend. Zach LaVine hits a 3. Now it's 101-93. And all of a sudden, that one possession game, now it's an 8-point game. So it's 3 possessions, at least 4 if it's just 2s. But at least a 3 possession game. So, I hate to say it because people are going to be mad at me for saying that the players bear responsibility, but I hate to say it that way, but they do. They do. I'm sorry. You do bear some responsibility because you're the ones out there trying to win the game. You cannot put yourself in a position to let the refs do that to you. And the Celtics did. So, but I'm with you. The officiating was bad. It was bad. Those were bad calls. It was a bad attitude. It was bad. And there's no other way to put it that was bad. But so was Boston's reaction. All right, let's get to the players. Let's get to Jaylen and all of this stuff with the break-in and where he was mentally and some of these other performances. That's coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers, you can bet $5. You can get 150 in bonus bets if you win. The Celtics had a big 14.5-point spread. That was a lot. I don't know if I would have put money on that because with the rust and, Sam Hauser wasn't playing. And, yeah, I wasn't sure. 14.5 was a big number. I might have put that on Chicago if I was allowed to bet on these games. But if you did and you won, it's 150 in bonus bets for you if you're a new customer. The FanDuel Sportsbook app lets you bet on place your live bets. Everything you need there is all in one place. If you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, play-by-play, and all that on the same page where you place your bets. So go to FanDuel.com today to join. gamble responsibly. Make sure you set your limits, you set your budget so you're not going overboard. Nobody wants that. You just go to fanduel.com, set those limits, and have fun. Place your first $5 bet. Maybe you get 100, maybe you win and get 150 in bonus bets. So check it out, fanduel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out the new Locked On Celtics daily newsletter delivered right to your inbox at lockedondaily.com. Go to lockedondaily.com to sign up for the Locked On Celtics newsletter, Celtics, league, and fantasy coverage, plus links to all the best stories out there in Celtics world. So go sign up, lockedondaily.com. I think after the game was clear, Jaylen Brown's head was not completely in the game, which is totally understandable. The break-in, the reaction to the break-in has been very frustrating to him. He said afterwards, like, media has been on the front steps of his, in front of his house there where it happened. And if he thinks the sports media is bad, how about like local news people, local TV news people? I spent a long time in the local TV news business. I know Jaylen Brown fairly well from as well as I can from this side of the my job, and I can tell you that that situation is probably the most frustrating thing of all. Like, on top of, here's a guy that probably feels invincible, right? Jaylen Brown is out there conquering the world, right? He's finals MVP, he's a champion, he's got all this stuff. He's starting a new clothing line, sneaker line. He's like, he feels invincible, right? He's in his 27. He's at his prime. Just like, he looks like a freaking god. Of course, he probably feels like a god. And then all of a sudden, this happens, and he feels probably a level of vulnerability that he could not have anticipated. It's his mother's house. He's incredibly close to his mom. And that happens. He must probably feels bad personally, probably feels like, who knows what he feels like? Who knows? He very, very much frustrated, though. Very clear after the game, the post-game media session, he was not himself. He's angry. I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. And like I said before, this is a tough call, right? Because you got to trust him. Say he wants to play and he's ready to play. It's not like he's hurt. He's, there's this mental side of it where you're like, yeah, this is tough. What do I do? As a team, I'm sure the Celtics are like, whatever you need. Like, whatever you need. You need time, take the time. And they should. If he needs time to set something else, but put his mom in a new house, whatever he needs to do, build a moat, get 10 Rottweilers, whatever he needs to do to feel comfortable, do it. But he clearly, and this is the unfortunate part, this is a basketball podcast, and he played a basketball game, and he didn't play well in the basketball game because of all of this. And this is going to be the challenge. How do you deal with real life and then go and play in these games? And not only that, but play, you got to go on the road. Like, tomorrow, the Celtics are leaving for Chicago. Everybody in the world knows he's leaving for Chicago. And then after that, after they play Chicago on Saturday, Sunday, they're traveling to Florida. Monday, they play Orlando. And they don't get back until either Monday night or Tuesday. So probably Monday night. So he's probably going to be like on FaceTime with his mom the whole time. Like, probably putting in a security system, probably like sniper towers and all that stuff. I know if that was me, I'd be like, what is the most military grade security system that I can put in there to protect my family? I don't blame him. But you also have to, your job is to play NBA basketball, and the Celtics need Jaylen Brown to be at their best. And that's something that he's going to have to figure out. It's a tough place for him to be. No doubt about it. And if he's not ready to play, if he's distracted, then he'll have to, tell the team, I can't focus. Maybe this road trip came too soon. I need to be home with my family. Maybe that's as simple as that, And the Celtics would probably be like, absolutely. do what you got to do. And I think we all should be like, yes, absolutely. Whatever you need to feel the need to be home and not leave your mom alone this first road trip, by all means. By all means. So, but he clearly was not 100% there, and that was part of why Boston, I think, struggled a little bit. In the end, what he finished with 19 points, but 7 of 17 shooting, 1 of 8 from 3, 3 turnovers. He did 4 assists. He it wasn't like he played horribly, but anyway, I hope everybody's fine. Like, I know everybody's fine physically. I just hope everybody's okay mentally. I can't imagine if it was my mom, it would be, 100%, like, whatever. Other performances of note: Jayson Tatum, first 3 quarters, basically the first 3 quarters. Fourth quarter was just garbage for the most part. But Jayson Tatum through the first 3 was pretty good. He 29 points, and I have it over here. What happened to my stats, John? Through first 29 through 3 plus 6. He was shooting well. He's playing defense. It was I thought it was going to be like a Jayson Tatum, Zach LaVine duel that, would have come down to the wire. But that fourth quarter, 17-4 run to start the fourth quarter for the Bulls. That was it. That was the death knell. But the Celtics had that one little chance, and the officiating and all that stuff. But 17-4 run, they were up. The Celtics were up for a lot of this game. Even though it wasn't by a ton, they just couldn't shake the Bulls. It felt like Star Wars, like all the X-wings are flying along, TIE fighters like, I can't shake them, and all of a sudden, beep 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 beep, and that's the official TIE fighter laser sound, beep 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 beep, and you got blown up. Sorry, Porkins. Chicago came by and they won this game. Derrick White had moments. He was like 0 for 4, then 3 for 3, and then 0 for 5. Is that what? 3 of 12 overall. So 4, 7, 5 more. So he like I said, he was very visibly frustrated the whole game. What's funny about Derrick White is I saw him in practice earlier this week, and he was missing shots, and he was getting like very frustrated with himself then. Derrick is a very like sarcastic, happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and he didn't seem like himself this week. Payton Pritchard came in the first half, was great. Second half, not so much. Payton Pritchard, it's funny to see him out there because it feels like he's Boston's like new cult hero. Every time he takes a 3, there are people like standing up like, oh, and like he hits these 3s, and he always has this knack for timely 3s that gets the crowd going. But second half, not as impactful. It felt like in the third quarter, fourth quarter there, when things were starting to go south, an infusion of Payton Pritchard was going to help, and it didn't. I think that might be when we really knew, like, ooh, the Payton Pritchard button, like you're mashing the Payton Pritchard button, like, come on. It's like a video game. Come on, turbo, come on, turbo. And you're like, no, you're out of turbos. So stop hitting the button. Like they're out of Payton Pritchard magic for the day. It's kind of like unfair to keep relying on Payton Pritchard to be like the guy who comes in and be your turbo boost. He does it so much, but can't do it all the time. Like I said, this is a flushable game. This is a very flushable game, very out of character. So I'm not like thinking this is the beginning of something. It's just they let their frustrations get the best of them. And it's every once in a while, it's not actually the worst thing in the world to have that happen, because you can look back and be like, oh God, you know what? I got to be better. You need every once in a while a reminder, I got to be better. And so they did. We'll see what happens on Saturday. Saturday's gonna be a super interesting game because Chicago, they play Boston well. They're not the best team in the world, but they play Boston well. They got that style. They put up 52 3-pointers. They'll go out there. They'll play fast. They'll defend you hard. They won't always defend you well, but they'll play hard, and they'll put up the volume of 3s that Boston doesn't like. Boston doesn't like when the other team's putting up the same volume of 3s, because this variance will get you. And the variance, you can ultimately boil it down to The Celtics shot 25% from three. The Bulls shot 36.5% from three on just about the same volume. 15-point differential at the 3-point line is enough. In a 9-point game, you say, hey, if that evens out a little bit, the Celtics win. And even with all of the things that I said, the Celtics would still win if they hit a few more shots, and a couple of shots that shouldn't have gone in, Patrick Williams, did go in. So, I mean, you could always look back at that and be like, even after all of that, a couple of shots going a different way, and this is a different story. So we'll be back. This is the Friday show, so no podcast Friday night into Saturday, but Saturday night when they play, I'll be here after that game, hopefully with a different result. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, watch the show on YouTube, and I would love it if you get into that comment section. Let me know what you think about the officiating, all that stuff. Do you think I'm on point? Do you think I'm wrong? You tell me. Share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.